Welcome to Mount Rushmore and Yellowstone. In this video, we're doing the Great American Road Trip, visiting two iconic American sites. Over the next 11 days, we'll see famous faces, beautiful lakes, gorgeous scenic drives, Old West towns, crazy roadside attractions, bison, bears, geysers, waterfalls, and more. We're Matt and Cheryl, and our mission is to help you have a great trip to the West. We did this road trip in May and June of 2024. From Utah, it took us a day to drive to South Dakota, where we spent 4 days seeing Mount Rushmore and the Black Hills. Then we drove to Cody, Wyoming, where we spent a full day, after which we spent 4 days in Yellowstone National Park. We climbed sandstone peaks, kayaked on pristine lakes, rode an old steam engine train, sang cowboy songs, ventured deep into a Cold War command center, lived like pioneers, and saw an Old West shootout. Hopefully you'll enjoy this road trip as much as we did. And if you want to do this trip, check out our detailed itinerary guides on our website with our best recommendations from years of researching and visiting these sites. Visit we'reintherockies.com or the links in the description below to see if they are a good fit for you. Now, let's get going. Day one of our trip consists of driving across Wyoming to get to the Black Hills. This gives us a chance to stop at a few historical sites I've been wanting to visit: Medicine Bow, Oregon Trail ruts, and Fort Laramie. We'll end it with an insane steak dinner in Hill City, South Dakota. Our first stop is the near ghost town of Medicine Bow, Wyoming. This once rough and tumble railroad town was the inspiration for The Virginian, one of the first great American Western novels and later a long-running TV series. This hotel was built in 1911 and named after the novel The Virginian. There's a line from the book that says, "When you call me that, smile." Today, the town has that quote all over town, including the very cool old-timey saloon inside the hotel. Check out this really cool bar here. And we got Home of the Virginian, cowboy hats and longhorns, creepy dolls. That's kind of weird. When you call me that, smile. When the first transcontinental automobile highway was built, it passed right through Medicine Bow. It was called the Lincoln Highway, and it helped Medicine Bow stay relevant even as railroad traffic declined. But in the 1970s, Interstate 80 was built through Wyoming, diverting traffic south of town. Since then, its population has had a steady decline to about 250 people today. We spent some time at the museum across the street from the Virginian Hotel, and we asked the men what people do around here. They said there's only two things to do: drink and stay out of the wind. There's a guy behind me over there, old timer. House burned down in California. They gave him some insurance money and he moved out here to Wyoming. He says he's so happy. His kids are getting better grades. He's got 81 acres out here and just loves the emptiness and the wide open spaces. Our next stop is Guernsey, Wyoming, where the Oregon Trail left its mark, literally. Just outside of town is something called the Guernsey Trail Ruts, where thousands of wagons carved deep grooves into the soft sandstone during the huge Oregon Trail migration during the mid-1800s. The ruts are 4 feet deep in places, and walking into them is like flipping back the pages of a history book. So you can see this divot here. This is the divot that they carved out because there were so many wagons coming through this little area here. And just think about those early travelers, like the emotions that they would have been going through as they came through here. They had no idea what to expect, really. Just to think about like what their life was going to be like on the other side, that journey. This is one of the best preserved places to see actual Oregon Trail ruts anywhere in the West. It's a short walk from the parking area and it's completely free. Okay, this map is talking about the Mormon Pioneer Trail, Oregon, and California. You can see they were all from Fort Kearny here up to South Pass, basically. They were all the same, and then they kind of split up and go to Utah, California, and Oregon. Right now, we're gonna head to Fort Laramie. We are right by Fort Laramie, so we're gonna go check that out. Fort Laramie is a national historical park, and it actually has a connection to the trail ruts nearby. The fort was originally established as a trading post in the 1830s. Fur trappers and Indians met here to conduct trade. But once the Oregon Trail started up, the U.S. Army bought the fort to provide protection for the travelers, as well as a place for the pioneers to refuel their supplies and get ready for the most grueling part of the journey that came next, the Rockies. It's known as one of the most important forts in all of the West, in large part because nearly all traffic through the Rockies came through here first.
Here's a little monument here. This is interesting. You got Oregon Trail coming through here. You got the Pony Express. So this is a monument to that. The Transcontinental Railroad came through here, as well as the Transcontinental Telegraph that went along with it. And so everything came through Fort Laramie in the west.
Today it is run by the National Park Service and admission is free.
My little habit is to collect the brochures at each of the parks that I go to. This particular one has several stamps because it's on the Mormon, Oregon, California Trail, as well as being Fort Laramie National Historic Site. Oh, the Pony Express Trail as well.
Some buildings are restored and others are now ruins. We enjoyed the peaceful walk around the grounds and through the officers' quarters.
All right, they got cold drinks sold at the Soldiers Bar Room here. Let's go check it out. Wow.
I love it when national parks embrace their history and have a little bit of fun. And here you can get a drink from the bar. Like, I never thought I'd see it in a national park. I mean, granted, this is a sarsaparilla birch bark thing, but I think it's pretty fun.
We've arrived in Hill City, South Dakota in time for dinner at the famous Alpine Inn. This legendary restaurant was built in the 1880s. Inside is a very cool mix of Bavaria and the Old West. The lunch menu has several German options like schnitzel. The dinner menu, however, has only two, steak and vegetarian. The steak option is a bacon-wrapped filet mignon served with a wedge salad and a baked potato. It's delicious, it's only $15, and they don't take reservations, so get there early or be prepared to wait.
And I got the vegetarian option, which is like some German dumplings and vegetables. But the food is amazing. It's a cash only, so I am prepared. But this was really moderately priced. Like both of our meals are under $20. You got right in, it's been pretty quick, and it came with a salad, which was delicious. So.
Okay, well mine is insanely good. Cheryl's.
It's amazing.
Okay, they have now brought the amazing looking chocolate cake. So this is a really, really warm chocolate and rich chocolate cake. That was awesome. What a great meal to kick off our Black Hills.
I know, we're supposed to try we're not trying a new restaurant every day, but you might make it back here for lunch. We'll see.
We're staying the night in Hill City, pumped as ever to see more of our beloved Black Hills tomorrow.
Okay, this is the back of our hotel. This is our breakfast. But look at this great view we have just from the hotel. This is just right here in Hill City, and this is pretty much the Black Hills. Everything is pretty here.
On day 2, we're going to visit the stars of the Black Hills, Mount Rushmore and Custer State Park. Mount Rushmore is one of the most iconic sites in the United States. This mountain was once purchased by a man named Charles Rushmore, who could have never known that his name would become synonymous with greatness, even though no one knows who he is. Later on, a South Dakota historian got the idea to carve images of famous Western Americans such as Annie Oakley, Buffalo Bill, and Sitting Bull in the Black Hills somewhere. He hired a sculptor named Gutzon Borglum to do the carving. Borglum chose Mount Rushmore for his carving, but he said the project needed to have bigger names. So he decided to carve his heroes into the mountain: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Borglum loved Lincoln so much that he named his son Lincoln. His son not only worked on the project with Gutzon, but near the end of the project, Gutzon died and Lincoln took over. Lincoln put the finishing touches on Mount Rushmore and became the park's first superintendent.
One thing to be aware of if you come to Mount Rushmore, you can get a self-guided tour. Just listen to this as you go around the park. They have a little map here with the different locations to play it.
We rented the audio guide from the visitor center and listened to it while walking the Presidential Trail, which loops below the carvings and provides different angles and closer views.
I'm learning some new things that I thought are pretty fun. Like one, that's like a big 500 step climb up to those. And these poor workers, they were not on the clock during the climb. The punch machine was at the top of the mountain. And then the stories about Gutson being difficult just continue on, that he would fire all these workers and his son would have to like go behind his dad's back and rehire them to get the job done. And then my new favorite is that a lot of these guys, you know, being a professional mountain carver was not a job. And so they'd had to hire like miners, carpenters, people like that. But they also hired baseball players because they wanted to have a good baseball team. So they'd like hire them for their baseball skills and teach them how to do all this.
One of the most memorable parts of our visit was at the Lakota Heritage Village, where we heard a talk from the grandson of Red Cloud, the famous Oglala Lakota leader. He shared the native perspective on the Black Hills, which are sacred land to the Lakota people.
All right, did you have a good morning at Mount Rushmore?
Oh my gosh, coming here in the morning is so pretty with the light on the mountain. He said that was one of the qualifications that Gutson had, was when he was looking for a spot to do, was he needed to find a spot where the light would hit the mountain and kind of just make it glow, and it does. It's so pretty.
It's been a peaceful morning. It's just been great.
Before leaving, we ate lunch at Carver's Cafe, which has a nice view of the monument through the windows, and you can also sit outside and eat your lunch there.
We decided to try out the food here at Mount Rushmore. You can sit out here in the open area right with the faces. It's pretty cool. I got buffalo chili and a buffalo burger. So they have ice cream here. There's named Memorial Team Ice Cream after the baseball team that we learned about earlier. And it is actually the original recipe that Thomas Jefferson created for vanilla ice cream, which is pretty cool. We had some last time we were here and it was very good, but we're not gonna do it today because the line is super long in there.
Mount Rushmore gets people to the Black Hills, but Custer State Park is the real star of the show, and it's what keeps people like us returning. There's so much to do in this amazing park. It has bison, donkeys, gorgeous scenic drives, several rustic lodges that you can stay in, and tomorrow we're going to do a Chuckwagon cookout here. But today we're going to check out 2 beautiful lakes and 2 adventurous hikes. The crown jewel of Custer State Park is Sylvan Lake, a postcard perfect lake surrounded by massive granite boulders. It's one of the prettiest spots in the Black Hills. We kayaked the lake last time when we were here, and our kids have enjoyed playing at the beach a few times. Behind Sylvan Lake is a fun hiking trail called Sunday Gulch. This trail was really awesome. I mean, one of my favorite trails I've done. It traveled across a boulder-strewn creek, over a few bridges, through alpine forest, and we had a lot of fun just scrambling around in some of the spots.
Okay, here we go. We're getting to a really fun section here. Crossing the rocks and the river. Oh, this is so pretty. What a great area. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can hold on to the camera for this one. Oh! Okay, we're going up and through a little. Oh! I made it.
It's a 4-mile loop that can be done in either direction. I was glad we went clockwise because the best section was last, kind of like a grand finale.
Here's the payoff. This view. Actually, that payoff was the gulch.
Oh yeah, that was an adventure hike. That was fun.
Legion Lake doesn't get near the attention of Sylvan Lake, but we've enjoyed it several times. There's a lodge on the shores of the lake. I grabbed a Coke and sat on the deck while Cheryl got out on the water in a kayak.
So Matt was nice, even though he does not love the water. He made sure I got to get on the lake. And so normally we get kayaks and canoes at Sylvan Lake, but today we thought we would try out Legion Lake just because there's more than one spot you can get out on the water. And even though Legion Lake is smaller, there are less crowds than there are at Sylvan. And so if Sylvan's a little crazy and nuts, Legion is a good backup option.
Cathedral Spires was another adventurous hike. This was a pretty short one, but it required some scrambling up the hill to get into the spires. This hike had a strange ending. The trail just kind of seemed to stop without any kind of a grand finish, but the awesome views of the spires along the way was worth it. And by the way, it was here that the idea of Mount Rushmore was born, as commemorated by this plaque. On day 3, we're going to explore more of the southern Black Hills. We'll tour a cave, go for a nostalgic train ride, and end our day with a Chuckwagon cookout. Okay, we're here at Jewel Cave National Monument, and we are going to go on a tour here. Cheryl's running because we are actually a little late for the tour. Hopefully they haven't ditched us. Jewel Cave National Monument is the 3rd longest cave in the world with more than 215 miles of mapped passages. And new sections are still being discovered every year. Okay, this is where the visitor center is, and you enter in there, and then they'll take you down an elevator for the tour. The cave gets its name from the glittering calcite crystals that line many of the walls. Not actual jewels, of course, but they're still pretty dazzling when the light hits them just right. Bonk. Jewel Cave does not cost money to enter, but the caves can only be explored on a ranger-led tour, which does cost about $16 per person. We took the Scenic tour, which is the most popular. It's about 90 minutes long, and there are roughly 700 stairs, so you'll need to be fairly mobile. But most of the stairs go downhill, and an elevator will bring you back to the top. The underground world is full of crazy formations, tight passageways, and huge chambers. And it stays a chilly 49 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, so bring a jacket. Here's a fun fact for you. The cave was discovered in 1900 by 2 brothers who felt cold air coming from a small hole in a rock. That hole turned out to be the gateway to a massive underground system that they are still exploring today. We are right here. Today we did the torture room and bacon.
You know what I loved about it so much was that I felt like I was going to be a scuba diver. Like the rocks look like coral, and you just kind of kept going down and down. That was the other great thing about it, was that even though there was over 700 steps, most of them were going down. They had a whole different elevator that brought you back up.
All right, let's get back above ground here and do a train ride. The 1880 train is a fully restored steam engine that runs a 20-mile round trip through the forested hills of South Dakota. The train travels between Hill City and Keystone with great views of the Black Hills away from the busy roads. There are pine-covered ridges, granite outcroppings, and beautiful open meadows along the way. That's a nice, slow, relaxing ride. The passenger cars have been meticulously restored and maintained. We've been on quite a few train rides, and these are some of the nicest restored cars we've seen.
Hello, everybody!
Hi!
Hey! Welcome to the 1880s train. My name is Daryl, and this is on. We'll be taking your tickets. Has the history of all the cars that we have here, as well as the history of the engines and a historical timeline of the train system here in the hills. If you care to have one, they're $4.
This rail line was originally used to haul ore during the Black Hills Gold Rush back in the 1800s, but today it hauls happy tourists like us. The ride takes an hour each way with a short layover in between. On our layover, the general manager was nice enough to give us a tour of the rail yard. All restorations and repairs are done in-house. We gained a real appreciation for how much they care about this vintage steam engine experience. It's truly a labor of love by a team of individuals who love trains.
Look at this, where the magic happens.
You can start your ride in Keystone or Hill City. It goes to the other town where you'll have a layover of about 30 minutes while they fill up the train with 1,000 gallons of water from the big water tanks.
Let's talk nuts and bolts of riding the 1880 train. This train ride, it starts in Hill City or Keystone. You can choose, and you can also choose how long you want to stay in the town. A lot of times people will start in Hill City, right up here, spend the afternoon in Keystone doing a family activity, getting something to eat, and then they'll come back. You just need to pick on your train ticket what time you want to depart and what time you want to arrive back. They also do some kind of fun things on Sundays. They have a shootout if you're into that. Other things to know is that they said that to book your tickets, we booked ours online in advance, but they usually have some available the day of. And the train is not always completely full, which is nice because some of the seats will face each other. So on our train, they said it was pretty typical. The seat across from you won't be filled, so you'll have a little bit of extra space. But man, it's such a wonderful ride, nice and easy, and it only takes about, I'd say, around 3 hours.
If you're a fan of steam engines or railroads, this is an absolute must-do.
Okay, we're now at the Bluebell Lodge and Resort. We're gonna go on a Chuckwagon hayride.
The Bluebell Lodge in Custer State Park offers Chuckwagon cookouts. We showed up at the lodge where they handed everyone silly cowboy hats to wear for the night. Then we loaded up in a wagon.
Let's head them up and move them out.
That's right.
Hold on to them hats and glasses, because this here is the wildest ride in the wilderness.
The wilderness. It was a big letdown that the wagon was pulled by a truck instead of horses. We've done a lot of Chuckwagon cookouts, and when we saw this wasn't pulled by horses, we were ready to rank this one dead last. However, they did redeem themselves. First, since it's pulled by a truck, it could cover more ground, so we were able to see more things. They took us through Custer State Park, where we saw some bison. They also pulled us into a meadow deep into the woods. Second, they provided entertainment the entire time. We had our own musicians singing cowboy songs to us on the way. Once we got to the cookout site, they provided more live music while we lined up for steaks, baked beans, cornbread, and more.
I realized that I did the math.
Did you see the look of disgust the guy gave me when he saw what I ordered? The veggie burger. It's like being a Democrat out here. You don't be a Democrat and you don't eat a veggie burger.
No, also, I thought it was kind of cool. They said an opening blessing or prayer on the food. That was great.
Yeah.
As you can see, there are quite a few people here, so this is a popular activity. So if you're okay being pulled by a truck instead of horses, if you have kids, or if you aren't too cool to throw on a cowboy hat and sing some hoedowns, then the Bluebell Chuckwagon Cookout could provide a nice evening of entertainment for your trip.
This is great. I had a great time. I'd recommend it for sure.
1, 2, 3.
That's cool.
On day 4, we're leaving the Black Hills to go east to the Great Plains. This is an amazing day with Cold War history, pioneer history, national park beauty, and a crazy new roadside attraction. Our first stop of the day is one of the most unexpectedly fascinating places on our entire trip, the Minuteman Missile National Historic Site. Not long ago, the quiet prairies of South Dakota were on the front lines of the Cold War. During the Cold War, the United States built a massive network of Minuteman missiles, long-range nuclear weapons buried underground in hardened silos. There were 1,000 missile sites across the Great Plains, and 150 of them were located right here in South Dakota. This national park site is made up of 3 main components. Each are located just off of I-90, but each at different exits. The Visitor Center, the Delta 01 Launch Control Facility. This is where 2 Air Force officers would sit underground 24/7, ready to turn the keys to launch up to 10 nearby missiles. This one requires a tour to visit, and we'll show that to you in just a moment. And finally, the Delta 09 Missile Silo. This is one of the missiles Delta 01 controlled, and it's a free stop to see the missile buried underground. The Visitor Center is free to enter and has an excellent museum with exhibits explaining the arms race, what it was like to live under the threat of nuclear war, and how these sites operated. It had the best movie we've ever seen in a national park visitor center. This is totally worth it, even if you cannot visit the other sites.
So these are the nuclear warheads, US versus Russia, and they have this awesome timeline that shows you how many warheads there were.
Whoa, to the brink of war and back.
But the real highlight is the Delta 01 tour, which we booked in advance.
Okay, so there's only 6 of us on this tour, and that's all they allow, and that's because the silo is so small. He said there are hundreds of people that would like to be in our position today, but the tickets are kind of a challenge to obtain because there's just so few people that can take on a tour.
Our tour guide started off by explaining that the neighbors here didn't even know that they had missiles surrounding them.
Okay, they might have seen the flag when it was flying and the barbed wire fence and thought something like, man, that is one patriotic and paranoid rancher. You know?
This is already the most interesting tour of all time. It is incredible. So I guess most of this is all underground and we're going to go see it right now.
There were 8 Air Force officers who worked in this facility, including the man who is giving us the tour. He retired from the Air Force and is now a park ranger for the National Park Service, giving tours of his prior place of employment. That made it really unique and really special.
Famous pizza box, only this is Minuteman Pizza, where you have worldwide delivery in 30 minutes or less, or your next nuclear pizza is FREEBIES.
This is the door. Like, look how secure that is.
2 of the 8 officers were underground at all times, ready to launch a missile at a moment's notice.
Text messaging is the precursor to text messaging. One small mistake could be very, very critical. So everything except for pencil sharpener, no checklist, and toilet paper roll replacement, no checklist. Besides that checklist or detailed instructions right in there, no excuse for not getting it right.
The tour guides shared stories of the people who worked here, how they passed the time, and what it would have taken for them to actually turn their keys and begin World War III.
And after it ends here, we're going to World War III, nuclear war, okay, and we don't have a heck of a lot of time to get this thing done. First thing we're going to do is insert those launch keys. Next, we're going to put on our seat belts.
Buckle up, World War III.
Okay, the Tim is going to dial in the code that we didn't have before so we can arm the missiles. He flips the enable switch down. All 50 missiles are enabled. They're all armed. As that thing ticks down to 5 seconds before key turn, hands on keys. 3, 2, 1, mark and turn the keys. Hold them about 10 seconds until a green message transmitted. Launch commanded. 1 launch vote. Launch in process. 2 launch votes. Inner zone security. A whole bunch of stuff is happening. Okay, the radars are going to pick it up moving, and when the first stage fires, it's 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit down below.
Okay, we just finished an incredibly fascinating tour.
There were some really fun little one-liner takeaways from this. He's like, no kooks use nukes. No kooks use nukes. Not allowed. No mulligans with missiles. These are kind of hard to get. They only lost 6 people per tour, and they do 4 tours a day. So, I mean, very, very hard to get tickets.
Between Minuteman Missile Site and Badlands National Park is the very strange Prairie Homestead. This is a preserved sod house built in 1909 by actual settlers. It provides a real-life glimpse into what life was like on the Great Plains in the early 1900s. No plumbing and no electricity. Just incredibly hard work, a wide open sky, and a home made of dirt and grass.
Look at these sod brick walls. Oh my gosh. This is one of the more interesting, like, old pioneer homes we've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I've never seen one with sod. I wanted to mention, these are free for all visitors to use, so you can walk around in your pioneer gear and look like a homesteader.
And this claims to be one of the last sod homes on the prairie today, and has been protected as a museum, just private thing. But since the 1960s, somebody's been keeping this up. Really cool. Got newspaper for insulation.
Matt, it's like one of our first apartments.
That's true. Yeah, I think we lived in a place like this when we first married.
Yeah. All right, so this is not the first time I wore a bonnet. I went on a pioneer trek and had to wear one, and I have to tell you, I was grateful for it because it was so windy. I can see why women wear hats like this.
Here's the outhouse. And then in the distance here, you can see those are the Badlands. That's Badlands National Park there.
And that's where we're going next. Badlands National Park is a place that comes out of nowhere. Miles of flat prairie suddenly drop away into a maze of jagged ridges, colorful cliffs, and striped canyons. We started with the Notch Trail, one of the most popular hikes in the park. This little hike ranks up there on my list of great national park hikes for a few reasons. First, it clocks in at only 1.5 miles round trip, and shorter hikes are always better in my book as long as they can fit in the payoff, which this one does. Second, it has a fun little adventure.
This part of the trail requires going up that ladder. You can see we got people up above that are waiting to go down, and people down here that are waiting to go up, so we got a little log jam going on.
Third, it has some nice variety. In an otherwise barren park, this has a little valley with some growth mixed with badland formations.
This is a great hike. It's very adventurous. I like following the poles. Like from each pole, you can usually see the next one. So it's kind of a little adventure where it's going to take you next.
And fourth, it has a nice payoff, this overlook of the rest of the park. Badlands Scenic Drive is also one of the more fun national park drives. It never really crosses our minds when we think of great scenic drives in the West, but this one is always enjoyable. The bonus here is that this is a drive-through park. This road leads to 2 freeway exits, so you basically do this on your way to your next destination. Badlands is known for its fossils, and we watched workers cleaning the fossils in the Fossil Preparation Lab in the Visitor Center. Because the Badlands formations erode so easily here, there have been some amazing fossils discovered even by visitors just walking around. One time, 2 young girls found a saber-toothed cat skull poking out of the ground. Next to the Visitor Center is the Cedar Pass Lodge, which has some rooms. The lodge also has a large gift shop and a mediocre restaurant where the thing to get is the Sioux Taco. Okay, time for more hiking and scrambling. Badlands has an open hike policy where you can scramble basically wherever you want.
Oh man, that's how I did it. We're not the most graceful.
Saddle Pass is a short but steep climb that gets you up into the formations quickly. If you're willing to go all the way to the saddle, you'll be rewarded.
So this is going to be the worst to go down.
Now we're thinking about going up to the peak.
Down here from the parking lot, this looked like pretty impossible to get up to, but this was cool. And something I love so much about Badlands is these hikes get right to the point. Like, you don't have to trudge through a lot of boring stuff to get to something cool. Any kid 10 years and older would love this because it's open hiking, so you can kind of scramble around. It's adventurous, and then you get these cool views. Like right now, I can see 360, and it's beautiful.
The hike is only about a quarter mile, but it goes straight up, which means coming down might require some creativity. So we've seen the Badlands has fun hikes, a nice scenic drive, a cool fossil lab, a lodge and restaurant, great viewpoints, and plains for days. These plains are ruled by bison above ground and the little barking prairie dogs below ground. We've never had a bad day in the Badlands. Near the Badlands is a town called Wall, South Dakota. This is most famous for the tourist trap here called Wall Drug, which was once a drugstore and is now a strange place to explore and get a bite to eat. But today, instead of visiting Wall Drug, we're visiting the new Dolls Chainsaw Art. This place is run by 2 brothers who are chainsaw artists. They have multiple locations around the Black Hills, and we love visiting all of them. Each location they open has bigger and better creations. This mammoth jackalope is so large that we actually got to walk inside of it to the top.
2 brothers, the Doll brothers, they use their chainsaws to make all these awesome carvings. We've seen the Bigfoot, we've seen their giant Smokey the Bear. There's a new bison in Custer, and then this is their biggest one yet. It's huge.
This is so cool.
Oh wow, they've like carved up their poles. And we've got a jackalope in here, how cute.
This is something else.
We love Dolls Chainsaw Art, and we tell everyone we know about them. But until now, we hadn't actually purchased one of their creations.
Man, these guys are so cool. All the carvings here are for sale. Okay, we had to support the Dahl brothers. And as we were looking around, there's a million bears here, and we love bears, but we have a ton of bears at home in Utah. Like, everybody has bear carvings and stuff. But I never see buffalo carvings. So we saw a buffalo out there that just caught my attention, and then we came in here and we looked at several other ones. But this guy's gonna go on my desk.
Okay, this fun trip is just going too fast. Day 5 is already here. We're going to spend the entire day exploring the famous Old West town of Deadwood, South Dakota. We'll see more of the Dahl brothers, stay in a haunted hotel, see a shootout, and learn about the town's oldest profession.
All right, today is day 5 of our epic road trip, and we are in Deadwood, South Dakota today. This is the site where Wild Bill was shot. We're gonna come back to this site later, but it's really early in the morning right now and the town is pretty dead. So we're gonna get up in the hills and go for a hike.
The Roosevelt Tower is a short hike to an overlook of Deadwood. It's named after Teddy Roosevelt, who was good friends with the Deadwood sheriff, a man named Seth Bullock. Bullock built the tower after his friend Teddy died, and it was the very first monument in the nation to commemorate the once popular president.
This is cool, yeah.
And it has this nice little map that tells you where things are around you so you can see what you're seeing.
Seth Bullock died 1 year later and was buried in the Mount Moriah Cemetery. This cemetery actually provides a better overlook than the tower. It's most famous for being the resting place of Wild Bill Hickok, who was playing cards in Saloon Number 10, when he was shot holding a pair of aces and eights, now known as Dead Man's Hand. Calamity Jane is buried next to him because she convinced people that she had a relationship with Wild Bill when she probably did not. Most people visit these two graves and move on, but there are several other interesting figures from the town's Wild West days who were buried here. Dora Dufran ran the biggest brothel in town, and Preacher Smith was killed for trying to preach the good word. But it was Sheriff Seth Bullock who brought law and order to the town. His grave sits higher than the others so that it could look across the valley at the Roosevelt Tower, a symbol of their friendship.
It is a rainy Friday morning here in Deadwood. We're gonna go get some hot chocolate and some breakfast at the pump house.
Oh, this is a beautiful little spot, and they are also a glass blowing shop.
Breakfast has not disappointed. I am so excited. First of all, the inside of this pump house is so cool. I cannot believe all the cool glass creation. We got some good stuff for breakfast. I've got this is strawberry hibiscus tea, which is awesome. I've had a sore throat this whole week. That sounds so good. These are all made here and they're all different. I just think these are super cool. What a great souvenir.
This is done by the owner of Mind Blown Studio, Tony Gerlach. We were mesmerized as we watched her make fun creations like bees. Inspired by the Bellagio in Las Vegas, she has crafted her own niche here in the Black Hills, bringing joy to visitors like us. Her amazing glass creations are on display all over the restaurant, and they can be purchased. Okay, now it's time to explore the town, and the best place to start is at the Visitor Center, which has given us a little mission.
This is such a cool program. So there are little trolley tickets on here that will get you to these places you want to go. And if you get 5 stamps, you get your choice of a Chubby Chipmunk chocolate bar, which is kind of a
The
Deadwood
local
staple.
Yeah.
And then, or the Deadwood playing cards, which Matt really has his eye on because they have the history of Deadwood characters on them.
Yeah, but then that looks yummy, so I want both. We need to get going because we got a big day of trying to check off stuff so we can get a free chocolate bar.
And we have a ghost tour at 5
Go
and
on.
a shootout and a trial. We got stuff.
We cruised around town, exploring all the main sites and getting all of our stamps at each one. The Adams Museum provides a basic introduction to Deadwood, including its 2 most famous characters.
I think a lot of times people romanticize who Calamity Jane is, and they said that she was built like a bushel of hay or a bale of hay. She claims that like Wild Bill was her guy, and Wild Bill's actually pretty handsome from the busts I've seen of him.
Whoa, he's
And-
handsome?
He's not bad looking.
Didn't take you for the Wild Bill type. Okay, good.
I just don't picture those two together. This is an exhibit I can get behind. So they're talking about how rough the roads were in Deadwood, and these are like the types of cars. And so the challenge is to see if you can get your car with all of its gear across this bumpy road. Ooh, I'm doing pretty good so far.
You're driving off the road. It's like
I'm
real
on
life.
the road. Oh my, oh, I lost, oh.
The Adams house is a fancy old Victorian home. Deadwood's gold rush happened in the late 1800s during the Victorian era. Those who struck it rich lived in a little neighborhood off to the side where they could show off their wealth. The Days of 76 Museum refers not to 1776, but 1876, when the Black Hills Gold Rush brought gold seekers from all over the world to Deadwood in the last major gold rush in the lower 48 states. Every July, the town celebrates the Days of 76 with a week-long party, including parades and a rodeo. Okay, Cheryl just can't resist getting in a stagecoach. You've become a total pioneer woman.
Oh gosh.
They have a pretty cool little collection of stagecoaches here, and they take all these out and ride them in the Days of 76 parade every year. So I think that'd be kind of fun to come to sometime, the Days of 76. Okay, we're admiring the different kinds of stagecoaches they had back then. And this is a fire truck, a fire stagecoach. Okay, this is the Deadwood brothel. This was once an actual brothel here, and they give tours. So we're gonna go check out the historic Deadwood brothel.
Now, this might surprise you, but the most interesting and the most educational museum in town was the brothel. We had no idea what to expect on this tour, but we learned it's owned by the town's historical society and it was very professionally done. Each brothel was sort of underground, distinguished by the color of their doors. Today, these brothels are honored by businesses around the town, such as the Purple Door Outlet and the Pink Door Boutique.
The reason why Deadwood has a brothel tour is because prostitution was legal in Deadwood until 1980. So Deadwood has all these museums because they legalized gambling in 1989. And part of the deal of legalizing gambling meant that they had to keep opening up these museums to preserve history. And so just recently in 2019, they opened up this brothel museum because it's part of the town's history. It started, during the gold mining days and then just kept going through the eras. It was very popular during hunting season. Those naughty hunters would come here and they'd act like they were hunting, but no, they really weren't hunting. They were going to the brothel, and then they'd hire these teenage boys to go shoot deer so that they looked like they'd been hunting. That was pretty interesting.
The madams hired the boys,
The madams would hire them. And that was another thing that I found pretty interesting was that the madams and the girls that worked there, they were a huge part of the community. Like, the community loved the brothel because they would support the Little League baseball teams. They were great customers. In fact, that was kind of why Deadwood started gambling in 1989, was because when the prostitution got shut down, their economy really suffered. You had to be 16 years old to go on this little tour. And I would say that they did it in the most classy fashion possible. They said that they get 100 people a day go through here during the summer. So it's doing well. And I think the most interesting museum in town.
Okay, we have run into Doll's Art again here. Cool creations. They don't have the huge jackalope or Bigfoot like some of the other locations, but their big one here is this chair. You think Wild Bill's pretty handsome. So climb up there and give him a kiss. There you go.
Our last stop for our last stamp was Saloon Number 10, where Wild Bill was shot. They claim to have the chair he was sitting in when he was murdered. The saloon puts on a free performance where Wild Bill himself makes an appearance. Later tonight, he'll be taken down by Jack McCall, setting us up for the evening's entertainment. Before we move on, let's take a moment to talk about where we're staying. I mentioned Seth Bullock earlier. When he was the sheriff, he established a hotel in town. I believe it's now the oldest building in Deadwood and is still a hotel. So I just had to stay here. The hotel provides a haunted tour given by Seth Bullock himself. The tour guide did really good, but I like history, not haunting, so it was kind of hard for me to get into it. Cheryl ended up having a tough time sleeping that night, though.
All right, so here's the deal with Deadwood is that it is a consensus that this town is haunted. What we did is we took a ghost tour at the Bullock Hotel, and the guy spent about an hour and a half telling us some of the history of the hotel, which was really cool, and then showing us some pictures of ghosts appearing and telling us some stories. The ghosts are not mean and scary. They're kind of silly. They'll do dumb things like move your stuff in your room or play music or maybe you'll smell them making spaghetti. Like weird things like that, but like nothing to be scared of. Now, some of these stories seemed a little silly to me,
But I'm not gonna say they're not true because I don't want to taunt a ghost to haunt me. Even though I'm like not sure that this place is haunted, I'm definitely sticking close to Matt tonight. And if I hear anything crazy, I'm not opening my eyes because I don't want to see a ghost.
Cheryl mentioned earlier that once prostitution was put out of business here, they kind of went through a down phase, and then they rejuvenated the town by legalizing gambling here. Here in every hotel and basically almost every building you walk into, you're going to see some slot machines and some other places that you can gamble. One thing we noticed that is pretty nice is when you walk in here, there's no smoking. So as opposed to Vegas, it's pretty nice to come in here, actually. This would be a nice place to gamble if you were into gambling.
Deadwood Alive puts on several shootouts throughout the day. The final reenactment deals with the killing of Wild Bill by a man named Jack McCall.
Shot Wild Bill! We're bringing civilization to the Gulch here. We're going to have a trial for that man. Come on down!
All right, now we're going to the trial of Jack McCall. Okay, this is kind of a fun little old-timey theater here. A lot more than what I expected, actually. And we're going to see the trial of Jack McCall.
They put him on trial in a very cheeky play that's fun for kids. And now, time for Cheryl to get haunted in her sleep. On day 6, we're leaving Deadwood to go to another famous western town, Cody, Wyoming. This is a 7-hour drive across the state of Wyoming. We'll see some beautiful nature, a memorial to an outlaw, small Wyoming towns, and the rodeo capital of the world. Spearfish Canyon is our first stop. This pretty canyon leads out of the Black Hills and is one of the nicest drives in an area full of nice drives. It also has some beautiful waterfalls. Roughlock Falls looks like something out of the Shire from The Lord of the Rings. This can be reached by vehicle or by hiking. I'm not one to ever recommend hiking over driving, but we did try the hike and it was a nice little stroll through the valley. Spearfish Falls is a 70-foot waterfall that requires only a short walk to reach it.
Okay, dang. Found it. This is great.
Both of these waterfalls are places where I could have just hung out for a little while if I didn't have to get going to drive across Wyoming today. This is Devil's Tower, and it's located in Wyoming, but is considered part of the Black Hills. This was the nation's first national monument, and is a wonderful little pit stop to walk around the strange formation. We're skipping it today, though, because we've been here several times, and we want to check out a few other things today, such as the little town of Sundance, Wyoming. In 1887, a young man named Harry Longbaugh was arrested here for stealing a horse. He spent 18 months in the Sundance jail, during which time he adopted the nickname the Sundance Kid. He went on to live an outlaw's life, though he would never again spend time in the slammer. He joined up with Butch Cassidy and his hole-in-the-wall gang to rob trains and banks over about a 10-year period in the late 1800s, when detectives were hot on their tails, so they fled the country for Bolivia. The Sundance Kid would go on to be portrayed by Robert Redford in the movies, who would then go on to open the Sundance Resort in Utah. Redford was so interested in Sundance that he published a book about his journey following the footsteps of the Sundance Kid, called The Outlaw Trail. One of his stops was a bar where Sundance drank in Thermopolis, Wyoming, which Redford purchased and moved to his Sundance resort and renamed the Owl Bar. Another one of his stops was the Hole in the Wall, where the gang hid out in this cabin in central Wyoming. Today, the cabin has been moved to Cody, Wyoming, which is our next stop after this montage of Wyoming scenery, which is much prettier than the southern portion of the state that we drove through to get to the Black Hills. Welcome to Cody, Wyoming, the famous western town. All right, we're going to the Cody Rodeo here, and we are blown away by how many people are here. Look, we got a lot of cars. Steady stream of people. A million cars parked in a full stadium. This is the land of the Patriots and the home of the cowboys and cowgirls. One of the things Cody is famous for is the Cody Night Rodeo, which it claims is the longest running nightly rodeo in the world. The show runs every single night from June through August, rain or shine. It's been going since 1938, and it's one of the things that gives Cody its nickname, the rodeo capital of the world.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming.
Oh, baby. Look at this crowd. I like going to rodeos, and I have to say this was one of the best I've been to because it has the best mix of small town atmosphere, quality contestants, fun for the kids, and clown craziness. I love it.
You know how your wife's sitting up there in seat 5, 6, and 7?
And the fact that it happens every night means that if you visit Cody on your big Yellowstone trip, you're assured to be able to see a show. Day 7 is a little bit of a recuperation day before we head into Yellowstone. We'll hang out in Cody, touring their big museum and doing dinner and a show. Our first stop is the Buffalo Bill Museum of the West. The town of Cody was established by Buffalo Bill Cody, who is one of the most famous Old West figures precisely because he outlived the Old West. After having been involved in the Civil War, the Pony Express, and the American Indian Wars, Cody noticed the western frontier was settled and the crazy time period of American expansion was over. So he decided to take the American West to those who never saw it by creating the Wild West Show, a carnival-like outdoor show that featured reenactments of famous events, such as the robbery of the Deadwood stagecoach, and other entertainment such as Annie Oakley's shooting performances. The Wild West Show toured around the world, even performing for the Queen of England. Buffalo Bill established the town of Cody, Wyoming, and named it after himself, of course, after Yellowstone was established. He saw it as an opportunity to attract tourists coming into the park. After his passing, the town set up the Buffalo Bill Museum to display artifacts from his life and his Wild West show. Since then, the museum has expanded into a top-notch Smithsonian-affiliated museum complex called the Buffalo Bill Center of the West. It has 5 different museums, and one entry fee gets you into all 5. It's so big that both times we visited, we booked a guided tour. The Buffalo Bill Museum stays true to telling the story of Buffalo Bill from his days as a buffalo hunter to his worldwide fame as a showman. I think this is actually my favorite museum of the 5 just because it tells a very unique story of one individual and his worldwide fame. The Whitney Western Art Museum has works from famous Western artists such as George Catlin, Charlie Russell, and Thomas Moran, who earned his fame by painting images of nearby Yellowstone. It also has some fun modern creations. I like this museum because it doesn't feel too pretentious. It's just easy to enjoy the wonderful images of the West. The Cody Firearms Museum has over 10,000 firearms, including one of the largest collections of Winchester guns in the country. I am not a firearms buff, so our guided tour here really made this museum come alive for me. But we've heard of gun enthusiasts spending an entire day in this museum alone. The Draper Natural History Museum is all about the wildlife, geology, and ecosystems of the greater Yellowstone region. The layout actually spirals downward like a canyon, taking you from alpine peaks to river valleys and plains. There are exhibits on grizzlies, bison, wolves, and more. Plus, interactive displays for kids. Of the 5 museums, the Plains Indian Museum is the least impressive to me because it felt like a missed opportunity to tell a fuller story. It gives the necessary overview of how Plains tribes were displaced and conquered by the US government, of course, but like most Indian museums I visited, it omits the intertribal conflicts that shaped how these tribes came to control their territories in the first place, and how those same dynamics influenced alliances during the American Indian Wars.
This is easily the best museum near Yellowstone.
You know, they have some very interesting artifacts here, like a buffalo hide teepee.
Yeah, that's the
I mean,
best.
that was so cool. I mean,
Gotta
those,
pay the entry fee just to go see that buffalo hide.
yeah, I mean, the thing's 200 years old. Those things were meant to only last 3 or 4 years, but they've been able to preserve that. That is very cool.
Only 8 left in the world, and they have 4 of them.
Yeah,
Only one on display, but they have 4 here.
Good.
Ticket is something like $25, and it's good for 2 days. And I would recommend spending 2 days in Cody if you have the luxury. Spending, you know, some time in the museum each day, the rodeo, the cookouts, the Buffalo Bill Dam, the wild horses that you can go find.
For lunch, we walked down to the Irma Hotel, built by Buffalo Bill himself in 1902 and named after his daughter, Irma. It's one of the most historic buildings in Cody. It's a creaky old hotel with a nice restaurant that feels like it belongs in the Wild West. The hotel's famous Cherrywood Bar was supposedly a gift from Queen Victoria. Last time we visited, we stayed in the Colonel Cody room, but today we're just grabbing a chicken fried steak and eating with lots of taxidermy surrounding us.
Okay, they brought me some delicious chicken fried steak here and mashed potatoes. Cheryl got a big old salad.
Yeah, it's called bear food. So this is day 7 of our trip. You guys ever notice when you travel that after so many days you can't eat any more heavy food? Like, oh yeah, I just want to munch on nuts and berries and lettuce. That sounds awesome to me.
After taking a little siesta, we ended our day at the Cody Cattle Company, which has been putting on dinner and a show since 2008. The food was delicious, and the music was rocking. I liked this one because it had a good mix of old country songs, rock and roll, and some new stuff. I think this was a good way at appealing to different age groups and audiences. Cheryl liked it so much, she says this is the #1 thing to do in Cody.
We've been to a lot of Chuckwagons and dinner shows, a lot of country stuff. What do you think?
This is the best one. So the Cody Cattle Company was so good. So you still come in at 5:30 and you eat for an hour, and the food was super good. I don't even like meat that much, but I love the pulled pork. It was so good, and they had potatoes. They also had brisket and chicken and brownies and lemonade and all sorts of good stuff like that. So the food was good, and they were really efficient. And when you walked in, it was like dark with like the black lights and the little fairy lights. It was a really cool atmosphere. And then the band came out, and they were so good. And what I liked about it is that they played several instruments. There was an electric guitar, an acoustic, a saxophone, a piano, and the bass guitar. It was so good. And they did a good mixture of like country classics that you would love. And then they mixed in some more modern songs. And so that made it especially fun. And what I also love about this so much is that it can be like a 3-ticket ordeal. So you can get your dinner and then watch the show. And then the Cody Night Rodeo is within walking distance, and so you just walk over to the Cody Rodeo, and then that's 2 hours of awesome fun. We did the rodeo last night, but we could have easily done it all in one night, and whew, what a fun Western experience. I'm feeling like this is a Cody must-do.
Okay, now it's time to see Yellowstone National Park. On day 8, we'll drive from Cody into Yellowstone on the famous Chief Joseph Highway. We'll enter the northeast entrance, then drive all the way through the park, seeing bison and waterfalls on the way.
All right, it is day 8, and we are starting off the day driving the Chief Joseph Scenic Byway into Yellowstone.
The Chief Joseph Highway passes through the Absaroka Mountains, connecting Cody, Wyoming to Cook City, Montana. The east side of Yellowstone is the most mountainous area of the park. This highway is named after Chief Joseph, who led a faction of the Nez Perce tribe who refused to agree to a reservation treaty between the U.S. government and the rest of the Nez Perce tribe. Considered rebels, the government pursued the Nez Perce from Idaho to Montana, a chase that, get this, crossed through Yellowstone National Park even as tourists were visiting the park. The Nez Perce even captured some tourists and shot one of them in the head. The army chased them through the park and they made a miraculous escape through these treacherous mountains. The Nez Perce actually came through this valley and ditched the U.S. Army by somehow making it down through this canyon and out that way. It's incredible. Today, the highway is named in honor of Chief Joseph, and the Nez Perce picnic area is located where that unlucky tourist was captured. All right, we're just outside of Yellowstone now. We've stopped at this awesome creek waterfall here called Crazy Creek Falls. Whoa, that is gorgeous. This is really pretty. Kind of bummer it's overcast. Okay, well this is something else. This is an incredible waterfall or cascade, whatever you want to call it. You don't see this too often where it's just kind of a gradual rock slide. And Cheryl's loving it. Okay, we found the best viewpoint. This right here, the base of these boulders. Cook City and Silvergate are two tiny towns at Yellowstone's northeast entrance. Originally mining towns, they now have about 170 residents that survive on Yellowstone tourism. In the winter, they become some of the most remote towns in the country. The only way in or out is through Yellowstone National Park. This is not a good home base for visiting Yellowstone, but it is an amazing place to stay a night or two, surrounded by the mountains and grizzly bears. Yes, this is prime grizzly country. Okay, we're here in Silvergate. This is their general store. Look at this cute little place. They've got like a little seating area here. And then all along the ground, they have these metal goats. And the goats are for sale. Looks like a real quirky, fun stop. All right, we've made it to Yellowstone finally. Hi, how are you?
Good, welcome to Yellowstone.
Thank you. I believe there are about 1,500 bison in the lower part of the park, and I think there are something like 3,500 or 4,000 bison up in the northern part of the park, and I swear we've seen all of them driving in today. I cannot believe how many we've seen here in Lamar Valley. It's not like this all the time. I mean, obviously, this is a great place for them to hang out, but I've never seen so many bison driving through Lamar Valley, or anywhere for that matter.
Oh gosh.
Here we go. Fun Yellowstone behavior. We love it. This is what makes Yellowstone so great. Okay, there's a bear up on the hillside up here, probably. Okay, that's what that means. You get a big crowd like this, gotta be a bear. Okay, well, we hung around for a little bit. I think we got skunks. Okay, you're just a little too late. Either that or we didn't climb up on our vehicles to see that grizzly bear.
You can't beat him, join him.
Okay, this is Tower Fall. Not Tower Falls, Tower Fall. After exploring some waterfalls on the north end of Yellowstone, we ended our day in the town of West Yellowstone, where we took in our annual show at the Playmill Theater. This cozy theater really brings the fun, and you might even get called on stage to dance a little, like our friend and employee, Liz. Day 9. Get ready for the perfect Yellowstone day. We will visit the upper loop of Yellowstone, seeing waterfalls, lakes, bears, and bison. We're in West Yellowstone. We've got our 2 employees and friends with us here, Liz and Becca, and we're gonna go hit the park and check it out. Our first stop is the beautiful roadside waterfall, Gibbon Falls. This 84-foot fall is an easy one to visit and one of the prettiest in the park, in my humble opinion. Yellowstone has more geysers than anywhere in the world. In fact, it has about half of the geysers in the entire world. These are typically grouped in geyser basins. Geysers come in different shapes and sizes, including steam vents, which Norris Geyser Basin is known for.
I love that. Okay, we're gonna go get gassed out. Oh, baby. Oh.
This 3-mile boardwalk loop is like walking through another world where the ground is too inhospitable for trees to grow. The colorful streams and hot springs are due to certain bacteria that can only live in very hot temperatures.
Cheryl is showing the others here this wooden map in the map room. This thing is called the map room, and it's a real fancy room for Yellowstone. And they have a little bar here. You can grab a drink and just kind of hang out in the map room. But this creation is really interesting, made out of several different kinds of woods from around the United States. You can see all the different kinds here. What's crazy is like the rivers are their own wood.
1937. It took them 5 months to make it.
Oh, jeez. That's impressive.
So this is a really special trip because we have Becca and Liz with us that work for us. We're at the Wonderland Cafe because in mine and Matt's opinion, there's not too many good places to eat in Yellowstone, but this is one of them, and we are so excited for our lunch. What do you got, Matt?
Elk chili.
Round number 3?
Yeah.
Gardner borders Yellowstone National Park, and the Roosevelt Arch is what connects them. This was named after Theodore Roosevelt, who happened to be visiting the park as it was being built. He gave a speech from the tower that would bear his name. Today, it's a fun ceremonial entrance to the park. You don't actually have to drive through it to enter Yellowstone, but most people like to drive through it and stop for a few pictures.
You can also walk in here. Not much to see really. You look up to the top of the arch. There's a grate there, but kind of fun.
Now we're going back into Lamar Valley to try to spot more wildlife. And boy, did we ever. I think we spotted 11 black bears today. The park doesn't actually know how many bears are in the park. It estimates there are around 1,200 grizzly bears in the entire Yellowstone ecosystem, which includes Grand Teton National Park and the vast forests surrounding the 2 national parks. Black bears are even more common, so much so that the park doesn't even give an estimated number, and you're much more likely to see one. Trout Lake is a nice short little walk around the lake to take in some wildflowers and streams. Mount Washburn is the highest peak in the park, and the road that passes over it is called Dunraven Pass. This provides some really nice canyon views throughout the drive. On our way back to West Yellowstone, we got stuck in a famous Yellowstone traffic jam. So we decided to get out in Madison Valley and hang out by the river while the traffic cleared out. That's when we saw one of the most memorable things we have ever seen in our 40+ years of visiting Yellowstone.
Okay, it's day 10 of our big road trip, and we are here at the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone.
Today, we're headed back into the park to explore more of Yellowstone's wonders. We'll see waterfalls, hot springs, and eat dinner in the town of West Yellowstone. The Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone is our first stop. This canyon is about 20 miles long, but the first 2 miles is where all the action is. There are several viewpoints from which to see 2 waterfalls and a 1,200-foot canyon with yellow and red tinted walls. You can see the waterfalls from straight on and from the brink of the falls. The Yellowstone River begins in Yellowstone Lake, flows north through the park, then through Montana and into the Missouri River. It's about 670 miles long, and it is the longest undammed river in the United States. It forms the 2 most famous waterfalls in the park, Upper Yellowstone Falls and Lower Yellowstone Falls, before carving the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. The name of the park comes from the yellow rocks found in the canyon and along the Yellowstone River. So, why is the canyon yellow? Well, the rock here was formed by volcanic eruptions millions of years ago. Over time, superheated water and steam from Yellowstone's underground thermal system rose up through the rock. That process softened the rock, making it easier for the Yellowstone River to carve it. It also oxidized the iron in the rock, which gives it the yellow color with red tinting. So the canyon is here because of the geyser activity below. And sometimes you can even see steam coming from the canyon walls.
As you can see, this is a pretty popular viewpoint. This is really, really nice at sunrise because the sun is rising and hitting the canyon walls.
We just did the one of the stops we always do when we go to Yellowstone.
Cheryl's favorite place.
My favorite place, the brink of the Upper Falls.
All right, check this out. This raven just landed on my vehicle here. These guys are pushy. They want food. Okay, he's eyeing Cheryl's trail mix now. Just don't be coming in this window, bud.
Oh my gosh, did you about lose your mind or what?
Hayden Valley is another wide, sweeping valley in Yellowstone where the wild things roam.
Okay, we're in Hayden Valley now, and I guess there's a wolf way out there, but you need a spotting scope to see it.
You never really know what you'll see, and today we just get to enjoy the scenic drive through the valley and a picnic along the Yellowstone River.
Always new discoveries in Yellowstone. Stumbled into this nice picnic area here along the river. Really pretty, a lot of ducks and geese here.
West Thumb is another geyser basin in Yellowstone. What makes this one unique is that it's located right on Yellowstone Lake. It also has some of the deepest and bluest hot spring pools here. These pools are 200 to 300 degrees in temperature. Since the park was founded in 1872, there have been 22 hot spring related deaths. One early visitor to West Thumb was backing up to take a photo when he fell into a hot spring. He managed to get out of the hot spring only to stumble into another one nearby. He didn't stand a chance due to his external burns and internal burns from accidentally drinking the water. West Yellowstone is the most common gateway town to Yellowstone National Park. It's not necessarily a charming town, but its 1,200 residents do a great job of serving the millions of tourists that come through here each summer. There are some definite worthwhile things to do in West Yellowstone, such as the Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center, the West Yellowstone Rodeo, the Playmill Theater, the Yellowstone Playhouse, and the unbelievable Earthquake Lake. This is a lake that was formed by a massive earthquake in 1959, which killed 28 people and caused a huge rock slide in Madison Canyon that formed a lake. We've done a whole video on the things to do in West Yellowstone that I'll link to below. As for the town itself, a lot of people say it's just a bunch of tacky t-shirt shops and chain hotels. But today, while the gals rested a bit at the hotel, I went in search of hidden gems in West Yellowstone. I like to go to these cities and poke around and just see if can I find any little hidden gems. Okay, so the visitor center has this walking tour of the city, and it's actually kind of cool because they have put these little bear paw marks all over the sidewalks to help you know where to go. I did find something cool here. So look at this rail line going into this building here. And when you come inside, you have a beautiful rail car here. This was built for the president of the company here, Oregon Short Line. It's really cool, the ornate woodwork they do in these old rail cars. And this is really fancy. I mean, this is beautiful.
A long day of sightseeing, and we're just getting some barbecue to end the day.
Well, I had a pretty good night in West Yellowstone. I discovered some little hidden gems, had some really good barbecue and good dessert. All in all, and we found a few souvenirs, so pretty good night. All right, day 11, last day of the road trip.
All good things must come to an end. The last day of our trip, and we've saved some of the best for last for you. We'll see some of the most famous sites in Yellowstone, including huge hot springs and tall geyser eruptions.
Okay, Yellowstone behavior here. Everybody's just walking right next to this buffalo on the side of the sidewalk here. We will not be doing that.
Our first stop is Midway Geyser Basin. This is one of the smaller geyser basins in the park, but it has two of the coolest hot springs. This is Excelsior Geyser Crater.
This big thing here is called Excelsior Geyser Crater. It used to be Excelsior Geyser, which did erupt and was the tallest geyser in the world, erupting over 300 feet high, but kind of blew itself apart and doesn't erupt anymore.
The crater is still a hot spring, and it dumps 4,000 gallons of 200-degree water into the nearby river, which is why the river is named the Firehole River. In reality though, the river isn't hot. It's just a more tolerable temperature than the many other very cold rivers in the park.
All right, this is Grand Prismatic Spring out there, big old pool that you really can't grasp until you get up above, which we will in a minute. But this is kind of cool here. You can see all the bison hoof prints. They walk around this area all the time. Okay, so we were over there walking along the geysers. Now we're going to go up behind them.
Grand Prismatic Hot Spring is the third largest hot spring in the world. It's a football field in length and in depth. The stripes around the edge are created by different bacteria that can only live in certain temperatures. Blue is the hottest, and the temperatures cool as they work outward. This otherworldly view is one of the most famous in all of Yellowstone. The Upper Geyser Basin is the largest geyser basin in the park and in the world. The Firehole River flows through this steaming valley where you'll see random geyser eruptions all over the place.
Okay, we got another little one over there erupting. Just a couple people gathered for that one, but this is now our second or third geyser we're seeing today. Okay, this is Castle Geyser here, and it's not actually erupting. It's already erupted. This This is like a steam vent process after the eruption, and I always miss this one, or just see it like right here during this phase here. I'm kind of annoyed, but I'll have to come back next time.
Some geysers are regular enough that the park gives estimates for their eruptions, so we're crafting a little plan to see as many eruptions as possible. But Mother Nature does what she pleases. We got stuck waiting for Grand Geyser to erupt, as we could see several others erupting all around us.
In the other direction, we got Daisy Geyser erupting. So we're like sitting here in the middle, waiting for ours to erupt, and on either side we've got Old Faithful and Daisy going. So
And like my right arm.
still
Oh, I know.
Still waiting for ours.
I put sunscreen.
Many tourists gave up on Grand Geyser, but we hung in there until the end.
Right before it went off, someone in front of us had a radio and they said, "There's waves in Grand." And we knew it was going to go off in just a minute. It was pretty exciting. And then when it finally did, it was kind of like watching fireworks, because every time a big group like burst of water would come out, people would be like, but it made it lots of fun.
Old Faithful is, of course, the most famous geyser in the park, and for good reason. It's been the most consistent geyser since the park was founded in 1872, which is remarkable because, like Excelsior Geyser that we saw earlier, several geysers have come and gone in this ever-changing environment. In fact, just after our visit, Biscuit Basin had a major geyser blast that damaged the boardwalk. The park's geysers were even affected by that big 1959 earthquake that I mentioned earlier. One dormant geyser started erupting during that earthquake, and 60 plus years later, it hasn't stopped. It's always shooting into the air. Old Faithful got a little rattled by that earthquake, but not much. It still erupts every 60 to 90 minutes, entertaining hundreds of visitors. It only erupts for 3 to 5 minutes at a time, but in my opinion, that's about the right amount. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it ends on a high note. The crowds disperse, and we'll gather again in anticipation in about an hour. If you're still with me, I hope that means that you've enjoyed this journey, and if so, I've got 3 things that you can do at the end of this video. First, if you want to do this trip, go to we'reintherockies.com to get the Yellowstone and Black Hills itineraries that we've prepared for you. We followed our own itineraries to plan this trip, but here's the thing. Our itineraries have options within them so that 2 people can follow the same itinerary but not have the same exact trip, because you can customize it to your needs. In fact, we followed our own itineraries each time we visit these places, but each trip is still something new and different. Second, if you'd like to learn more about visiting Yellowstone or the Black Hills, but you aren't ready to buy one of the itineraries yet, that's okay. Just watch one of our trip planner videos that we've put on the screen for you. Third, if you just want to sit back and watch another fun road trip adventure, I put the link for our playlist on the screen. Just click that and choose the video that you want to watch. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, go west, young traveler.